All right, guys. It's been a whirlwind tour the last couple of hours, 24 hours anyway. I think just opening up, just general comment is just really excited and happy, even though it's past the 24-hour rule, to be talking about it, that these guys have been relentless in their pursuit to do what we ask them to do. And any time that you start a process like we did defensively 2 years ago, and ask guys to buy into a certain way of doing things, and that we're going to ask you to do hard things, but if you do it the way we tell you to do it, and you have the resolve to keep doing it that way, good things will happen. Well, you know, the best way to reinforce that is for good things to happen. And so, you know, I think now they see that the process, the standard that we set, the things that we ask them to do, if you do it that way, then it will bear good things. Having said that, with the game, I think probably the biggest thing in the game was actually we'd ask them to simplify the approach to the game. In this game, we were a little bit different in that normally we have certain things where we say stop the run and hold the pass, where our goals are, and our goals in this one were a little bit different in that we just wanted to really simplify it. So we cut it down and we said, hey, we're going to play with relentless effort. We're going to be extremely focused in what we do. But the biggest thing, guys, is get off the field on third down. You know, I think at one point in time in the game up there it was 0 for 9 going into the fourth quarter, and I think probably that was a big part of it. Of how the thing unfolded. Then we had a fourth down stop late where it was still within striking distance, and they lined up in a close bunch set, ran a mesh route. We happened to be in cover 2, and so we were just kind of sitting back, ready to catch it. Carlton broke up, made a good tackle, and we had 2 other guys arrive there to stop them on the fourth down. So that was big. The other big thing was when they had the kickoff return, which they're in field goal position now to make it 20-17, 3-point game, and we got them stopped at the 18-yard line, and then forced a field goal, which was they didn't get off. They did muff the snap, but we had 2 guys in relative position. You'll never know. You can't say they would have or they wouldn't, but it looked like they may have blocked it anyway as a possibility. Those were 2 really big positives in it, other than the third downs. Then in terms of the things that we got to go back to the drawing room, we came out at halftime, we'd made a few adjustments, and they'd made a few adjustments, we had to counterbalance it, but really uncharacteristic in that game and in our season, we didn't tackle well in that drive. We had 7 missed tackles in 5 plays, and that's just not what we do. We didn't have 5 the rest of the game. In any part of the game. And we've tackled very well, and we've been a good tackling team, but in that we didn't tackle very well, and they came out and went down the field and scored. We misfit off of a crack on the last play, and didn't have the guy where he needed to be sitting to set the edge on it, and they ran it in. So we had some work to do there today in terms of correcting that. As far as this next game, you know, I'm excited for these guys to have the opportunity to play in the SEC championship game. Obviously, having been in the National Football League, one thing I learned real quick is it's hard to beat somebody twice in the same year, particularly if they're a good football team. And if they're a really good football team, it's really hard. That having been said, I don't think what we've kind of taken the approach is, and I'm sure having been around conference championship games and having to play opponents that you've played before, really it's got a life of its own. That last game, it's not going to look anything like the last game probably in anybody's imagination. So we've got to prepare just like the first game against Georgia never happened, although we do have an advantage that we have the video of it. It did happen, and so we've got some things we can take off that video to show them how we can correct things, get better at some things, do some things. Obviously, you know, you've got to look at your game plan that worked, but they are also going to look at your game plan that worked, so you're going to have some wrinkles that are different. So it presents a challenge in that area, but we're looking forward to it.
Is Trey Matthews okay?
Yes. We're everybody was accounted and present at practice, and good spirits. Everything was fine.
How vital is he to defend in the running game?
Well, we use our safeties in the run game a good bit. He and Steele both, so he's starting safety, and we use our safeties a lot in the run game. We're in the SEC West, so you get to do it quite frequently, so it's pretty vital.
Yeah, well, can you talk about Trey Williams going out there senior night? Obviously, he probably wasn't at full speed, but he played hard.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of respect for him, and that he has an injury that they monitor very, very, very closely. It's not head or neck related, but those stinger type things, you never know when it's going to pop up. And obviously, when certain tackles or certain block protection, it's a little harder on him, but he played really well, really well. Got a lot of respect for him.
How does it free you up as a defensive play caller when you can regularly get pressure with 4?
Well, I told Rodney to answer your question, I told Rodney after the last, I guess they got the ball back one more time, had one play, but at the end of that drive, I said, Rodney, you need to tell those guys, we had a couple things we need to cover. I said, but you need to tell those guys they just made that series real, real easy, because anytime that you can, in a 2-minute drive, I mean, that drive is a 12-point lead. They go down and score, kick onside kick, and get the ball at midfield, and now we've got issues. And they're fully capable of doing that. I told Rodney on the headsets, I said, tell those guys, they just made that drive real, real easy, because we didn't pressure one time. We were 4-man rush all the time, and they affected him and kept him on the run. He got out of there one time, I think for 17 yards. We lost contain on it, but we affected the quarterback with a 4-man rush pretty much the whole game. We only called 2 pressures on passing downs, 2 pressures. So.
Kevin, what challenges are there with an in-season rematch since it happens so infrequently ever? You thought about that?
In terms of
Just revenge motive for them, tendencies. I mean, do you do more self-scout, or I don't know?
Yeah, you have to do more self-scout. It's a little bit different, past experience, just drawing on past experience. It's a little bit different when it was so recent. It just happened. And so the book, it's one thing if you're going back and looking at an opponent, say if we had to play Clemson this week, and there's a bunch of games in between, then there's a lot of things that we've obviously changed that are going to look different to them, and that they've changed are going to look different to us. But there's not a lot changed in 2 weeks. I mean, and so then you're somewhat, everything's on the table, and it's an open book test. And so you've got to be real smart that you can't leave your wheelhouse, but you've got to be able to make sure that you look at the film more from, okay, in the past game, they did this and we reacted this way, but they're going to come back with this. So you got a little bit of a guessing game of predicting, okay, how are they going to try to attack this? Once they look at that film and say, okay, we could have done this. Will they do it this way, or will they do it that way? And so it's a little bit of a guessing game. And it'll go on, quite frankly, probably throughout the game.
I'm just guessing, was your last rematch in a season in the NFL?
No, I think we had one against Florida.
Okay.
I think that's right. I'm not positive, but I think.
Well,
I'm not. I know it was in the NFL, and maybe that.
that's what we're asking.
Look it up. I'd be wrong. Too many seasons in this head.
Kevin, can you talk about Carl Davis? He looks like he's having a really good season here.
Yeah, I think we kind of told those guys in the game, we're going to be cute. It's going to sound funny, but it was just to give them something to stick in their head. We told them, it's a LeBron game, and LeBron, what are you talking about? Yeah, 2 and 3. You better know where they are, and so to go into the 4th quarter with him having, I think, 1 catch for less than 10 yards was huge, because he is a great player and can knock the top off the coverage in a minute. And so, and Carlton had a great part of that. I mean, he covered him one-on-one by himself on rundowns pretty much exclusively. But we did have, obviously, when we thought we were going to throw it, we had doubles on him.
Obviously, Georgia's running game plan didn't work so well 2 weeks ago. You expect them to change a lot going into this week?
Well, they're a great football team, and you know, that game is, no, I don't expect them to change a lot. They'll have wrinkles, but you know, it's a stable of really, really, really talented backs. They run the ball effectively all year long. It was just one of those games that unfolded that way. You know, we could play that game 12 games in a row, and I don't know that you're going to see 46 yards rushing again. I would like to think so. I'd jump up and down if it was so, but you know, that's a tall order.
When the game was, you know, obviously just a couple of weeks ago, and now you're going to this, do you almost have to, I mean, you're a veteran guy, just not overthink it, thinking maybe they're going to do this much different, or this
Well,
actually going to be
first
this
of all, I'm
much
not capable of overthinking. but then, no, because the players got to play the game. The players have got to play the game, and so you know, you start trying to get out of your wheelhouse and do something different than what got you there. You know, we're not going to do that, but we'll have a few wrinkles.
Kind of a bigger picture thing, but I mean, you've seen it before. You've been on teams with it before, but when you're the defensive coordinator going to a new team and it's an up-tempo offense and it's either spread or whatever Gus's adjective is, that's not spread, but up-tempo, there's always a concern that you can't have an elite defense. It can't be done. But you've been on teams with top 20 offenses, top 20 defenses, and this is now a team that has that. How much of an emotional boost is it or whatnot for a defense to see that it can be done both on your level of achievement, but also to have the offense at that level, to have everything clicking at that high level? Well,
obviously it can be done. You know, there was a learning curve there. Maybe not for some young guy that has done the same thing, but for an old guy, when you grew up and you had 3 formations and 2 of those had at least 2 tight ends in it for a long time, it was a little bit different to learn how to practice and get the direct run, the physicality of the direct run that you're going to see in the SEC, and be a little creative about the way you go about practice. But you know, I think it can be done. It's being done. We have to go about it a little bit different way, yeah. Having said that, I think it makes it. I don't know how to explain to you that you know, if you give coaches enough time, they'll figure it out. And so sometimes we don't get enough time.
Yeah, and you talked about keeping it simple. The players have talked about that, and then you kind of hear guys say it allows us to play fast. With a veteran group having
Right.
Steven and Denson out there, how much does that help that those guys can make adjustments on the fly and you can just let them go and play football?
Yeah, I mean, we are simple, but I mean, we've got plenty to do what we need to do. I mean, we're not sitting there and lining up in one thing and say, okay, here we are, we're the beast, and we're going to line up just like this, and that's all we're going to do. We got plenty to do. We just pared it down to where things are. They look different, but you can tell guys in their group this is the same as. So for you, it's the same as this. For them, it's not. It's the same as that, and just kind of piece them together, if you would.
Kevin,
And so that's how we kind of arrived to it.
you had Alabama pinned deep, and I couldn't help but notice you actually took Carlton out of the game, and then Jordan Peters makes a great play on 3rd down. Where are you right now with your young corners and DBs, and are they at a different level than they were maybe a month ago or a month and a half ago?
Yeah. Our young guys we feel comfortable. We knew that was going to be a 4-quarter game, and usually that game has the potential to go down to the very end, literally to the very end. And so, we just kind of were picking and choosing. That was already scripted. We knew when they were going in. It just happened to be that series, and but we have a lot of confidence in those young guys. I mean, they progressed very nicely.
Kevin, for the defense particularly, how much impact does an atmosphere, the noise, like you had yesterday, have in your favor?
Well, I mean, it does. I mean, the players, they're 18 to 22 years old, and they're emotional guys. They like to They like to create energy among themselves, and when the crowd feeds off of it, they feed off of that. And so it has an effect on it. It does.
Kevin, you've had two of your better third down performances against these two offenses the last couple of weeks. Particularly last night was, I think it was almost perfect at third and medium, and it's almost unheard of against top 10 style offenses. So just, has there been any difference in, I wouldn't say scheme, but has there been a difference in aggression or execution, or just what is it where you made the?
No, not really. Maybe some of it has been, you know, sometimes you're trying to break tendencies too. You know, you don't want to get into a rut of, okay, it's third and medium, so they're going to be in this and this, and sometimes you break tendencies, you try to break those tendencies and it doesn't work. And you better make sure you get that fixed real quick. And so really in these games, I mean, we did what we do. We did it with a 4-man rush. You know, the coverages that we play a lot of them. So it wasn't anything magical. Had a lot of time on task, and that helps.
Kevin, how much have you seen Stephen Roberts grow in your time here, and how important has his play been?
Well, he hasn't grown a whole lot. He still don't weigh but about $178. No, he is. He really understands. I think the biggest thing on a defensive player is when you know that they're making progress in what they do. It's not so much that they know what they're going to do out of a particular look. So they come up and say they're in what we would call gunfire train Y flex. Okay, well you know right now, okay, they're not going to do this, and they're not going to do this, and they're not going to do this. All right, so eliminating what they're not going to do, which allows you to really focus in and take away what might happen. And he's really good at that. He's grown a lot in that area, a lot. For example, the third down that got thrown into the end zone, that they kind of, the tight end, we batted up the tight end, ball hit the ground, knock on wood. That particular play, you know, he came off afterwards, and you know, he wouldn't have done this last year. By the split, we had a double on number 3. He was part of the double, and he actually told 13 that it was Buffalo Y7. I mean, he told him what the play was because of the split and the alignment of number 3. Well, I promise you, he didn't know where Buffalo was this time last year. Yeah.
Kevin, your defensive line has been pretty dominant all year long. Just how valuable has that been, and did you see that coming from the start?
Yeah, I think if you go back and look at your notes, you'll see that, you know, back in fall camp and spring practice, that we said that, you know, everything we do, we don't hide from it. We don't run and hide from it. The guys, everything we do starts and ends with the guys up front. Run and pass. Everything we do. They're a talented group. They work very hard. They affect the quarterback. They have the ability to command double teams. They have the ability to get off a block and make tackles. They have the ability to affect the run game on the other side of the line of scrimmage. They're a well-coached group with a lot of talent, and they play hard. They bought into the relentless pursuit to the football and being physically and mentally tough. They take pride in that, and we lean on them.
Kevin, the most like basic big picture, just the stakes of this game. I mean, the winner is in the playoff. This program has not been in the playoff. It's been a short window, but nevertheless, the program has not been there. Just what are you going to tell your team? What are you going to tell your defense over the course of this week? What do you think you're going to say on Saturday?
It's easy. That's easy. Same thing we told them in spring practice. Same thing we told them in fall camp. Same thing we told them against Mercer. One play at a time. One play at a time. Just play one play at a time. Dominate your opponent, own your real estate for that one play, line up, do it again. Don't let the last play affect you. It's got a life of its own, it's gone. Play the next play. And that's the only way you can approach it. Otherwise you get all emotional into things, and then you just ride an emotional roller coaster. And you can't do that way. We've conditioned them that way. It's the way we're built. I think they bought into it. I think they react that way. Is it out there? Yes, it's out there. Are we trying to keep it from being part of it? Absolutely.
How have, when you're dealing with a young kid in the collegiate level, when it has been an all or nothing approach to the last 5 weeks, and now it's the last chapter of that until you get potentially to the playoff, how is it that with this group that they've been able to handle that? all or
Leadership,
nothing for that?
total leadership. You know, we're very fortunate with Trey Williams and Trey Matthews and Dontavius. Those guys kind of set the tone. Deshaun Davis is one of those guys, Stephen Roberts, but particularly Trey and the two Treys, they set the tone, and they kind of lead the guys where they need to go, and so they're the message carriers, and they do a good job of it. They really do.
Kevin, I wanted to ask you, how does the season you guys are having affect recruiting? Have you seen it help recruiting? Have you seen things picked up in that end?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, you know, there's no doubt about that. I mean, when you're successful and you win on the grass, it affects recruiting. It's just the way it works, and you know, everybody wants the new shiny car. They don't want the used car.
Kevin, you've been in this league 9 years. What's different or special about this place? Do you ever get time to drive around and see the trees after games? Are you just going home, going to the office?
I got a bedroom,
Yeah.
a hallway that leads to the bedroom at home, garage, and that submarine upstairs. That's about it. I wish I could say I do, but I don't. I really don't. I got a daughter that graduated from here in 2010. She recently moved back here, so she kind of keeps me informed of everything.
All right, Coach.